Public Policy and Agent Interest is a book written by Dr. Shamsuddeen Usman. The book deals with finance and taxation in Nigeria. Now, joining us on the morning show for a chat on the book entitled Public Policy and Agent Interest is the author, Dr. Shamsuddeen Usman. A very good morning to you. A privilege having you on the program. We appreciate it for making it this morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me.
It's good to see you again, Dr. Usman. As a technocrat and investment banker, a former cabinet minister in charge of national planning of this country, many years in the public and private sector, talk to me, why do you decide to write a book, this book at this particular point in time of the country's economic journey?
Well, I had been actually mulling the need to write a book about my own experiences, particularly in the public sector, as Deputy Governor of Central Bank, Minister of Finance, and Minister of National Planning, since I left office as Minister of National Planning in 2013. But what the focus of the book should be and how soon I should write it were the challenges. Initially, I thought of the book as a reveal all, just expose all the things that happen in the background and so on. After some time, I realized that what's the purpose of that? You'll be in the social media for a couple of weeks, create a lot of enemies and so on. And at the end of the day, you don't really achieve much. So I decided, I almost gave it up, but one time at a Friday prayer, an imam actually did a sermon that said it was the duty of people like me that had had experience in public service to document our experience, particularly with a view to helping those who are in position today and those who are aspiring to be, in order to learn what lessons. So really the focus of the book changed from a reveals all, which really doesn't help anybody, to one of saying, what did we do right and what did we do wrong and why? Basically, the book actually takes on the effort to reveal or to untangle Nigeria's development challenges, the development puzzle. Everybody talks about Nigeria being having such great potential. And everybody asks, why? Why did it not realize that potential? Why are we not realizing that potential? Now, as far back as or as recently as 1990, Nigeria's GDP per capita was higher than that of China, India, Bangladesh, and a few other countries. So even as far back as 1990, or as recent as 1990, people still thought that if Nigeria had got its act together, it would have been, if we had continued to grow, for example, at the rates of growth that we achieved during the first and second national development plans, up to 1975, Nigeria would have been a great country by now, probably rivaling those countries, India, or at least achieving as much as those countries. And everybody has asked, why then? What are the reasons? So the book actually tries to untangle this puzzle and to say this is why that Nigeria didn't achieve that. And the main reason is what we call agent interest. Now, the agency issue is been quite around in economics. And simply put is this, that people, politicians and public office holders who are supposed to be agents of the average Nigerian, of the public, actually turn out to become agents of themselves and their own selfish interests and other interests, instead of being agents of what is good for the public. So you actually have a role reversal, the agent becomes the principal. And once you have that, then the problem is compounded. So based on my experience as having all these public office held this, I also invited other people with similar experiences. So the book is actually made up of 15 chapters. I wrote 4 of them, plus the introduction, the preface, and the conclusion. But I invited 12 other people who are experienced, who have both the theoretical and practical background, to contribute chapters. So there are 11 other chapters to my 4, which now address the general and specific aspects of the book.
All right.
And if you want, I can just quickly run through some of the key issues that we covered.
Yes, I would love for you to do that, run
Yes.
through the issues. But before you do that, just to highlight the fact that just reading from the first and second chapter of the book and the challenges that you experienced, or that was experienced at the time you were Minister of National Planning in 2007, the same challenges still exist. So Mr. Yemi Kale had written around the unavailability of data, which still exists. In chapter 1, I believe it was the conversation around Andrew Nevin talking about taxes and social contracts, which I thought was quite curious, because we still have the same challenges here where the people are asked to pay their taxes, but the government in response, in terms of that social contract, isn't seen to provide infrastructure, meet the needs of its people as at now. What would you say are some of the key things that must happen? Like you said, this book was written to provide solutions, not just to reflect or be an expose, but to see how we can begin to move forward and fix things.
Yes, actually, the approach we took is that, first of all, analyzing the challenges is probably 50% of the solution. But we went forward. Each of the chapters actually went forward to recommend the solutions based on experience of other countries. For example, you mentioned Dr. Andrew Nevin, who opened the book with the chapter on the issue of agent interest itself. He pointed out that in Nigeria, unlike in some other countries, the basic social contract between the citizen and the government has broken down. The average citizen doesn't expect anything from the government. The government has not providing all the basic services, the things that you take for granted in other countries: education, health, infrastructure. All those things are not there. And therefore, the citizen says, why do I pay taxes? Why do I become a good citizen when I'm getting nothing from? So because of that breakdown, what he recommended is a new social contract that must be put up. And this new social contract must involve the citizen, must involve greater transparency, greater accountability by the leadership. And of course, the other chapters in the book go on now to specifics. If you take the next chapter by Yemi Kale on data, the most fundamental requirement for policy in this country is accurate and sufficient data. If you don't have data, you are just groping in the dark. Even if you have policies, you may actually be hitting the wrong target, or you may be harming. You just finished a discussion before I came on board on the fuel subsidy and all the... We just seem to be going from one crisis to another in this country. Now, take data is so basic to getting policy done that what you therefore need to do is to invest in generating accurate data, adequate data. And there are examples both from me and from Yemi Kale as to how that has been done. For example, I was with Minister of National Planning. Actually, I was the one who recommended Yemi Kale to be appointed as DG MBS. And together, we worked on improving the quality of data to the level now. People used to doubt the figures generated by MBS. But these figures now are credible. Why? Use of technology. So some of the solutions are very simple. Technology can help us to get data that is accurate. And to give you examples, now when they are doing GDP or inflation survey, the people who are actually getting the data across the several markets all over the country, they are using GPS to monitor where they are. There was a time when you could sit in Abuja and write prices in Akure, in Ondo, in Kano, and so on. Now you can't do it because the officer who is doing that, they can track him being in a particular market where he's getting the data at the time that and he's sending it real time online. To give you another example of the importance of data, you know, when we were appointed in 1999 into the central bank with Chief Sanusi as governor and 4 of us, including myself, as deputy governors, all of the operations of the CBN were manual. Yet we did a project called Project Eagles that transformed in about 3 to 4 years, transformed the central bank from a completely manual operation to a fully non-paper-backed operation. And so you could actually see the details about government accounts. We extended that also to the Office of the Accountant General. So immediately, some of the challenges and problems disappeared. We had a whole department of people who are carrying checks from one CBN branch to another every day. So you'll have vehicles that will go from Abuja to Maiduguri to Sokoto to Yola and so on to deliver checks. And if some of you may not know, checks used to take 4 days to clear.
Okay, Doctor.
But immediately we did that.
Doctor?
Yes, please.
Okay, if you can just
Yes,
conclude on that thought, and then I can intervene and ask you another question.
Okay, it's just to show that, for every challenge that has been identified, solutions have actually been also, I think that was the main point I'll just give some examples about that.
Okay, Doctor, good to see you
again.
I
can go on, yes, go.
Good to see you again.
Ruben, good to see you after a long time.
Yes, and congratulations on your 75th.
But I see you every day on your program. So.
Yes. Well, let me start by congratulating you on your 75th birthday for a man of 75. It's quite impressive and inspiring to see that, look, you are still contributing to scholarship and that you remain the intellectual that you are. But I would like to ask you, in terms of details, what are the plans for next week, September 26, when this book will be presented? I know that a foundation is also going to be launched. If you could give us the details of what will happen at the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center. And the second question, quickly, you are chairman of MOFI, Ministry of Finance Incorporated. Many of the assets belonging to MOFI, they are either moribund or they are underperforming. And you've been there since November, I think, 2023. And now MOFI is even at the center of the storm. With all this talk about fuel pricing and NNPC Limited, that is partly owned by the board that you chair. If you could help us throw some light on what MOFI exactly has been doing under your watch as chairman of the board.
Thank you, Ruben. First of all, the book will be launched next week, Thursday, as you said, at the Musa Yar'Adua Center. President Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan, not only wrote the foreword to the book, but he's going to chair the event. And we have quite a number of highly placed and respected people going to attend. The essence is to present the highlights to the public at the time, and this is a copy actually of the book that I brought, at least for your viewers to start seeing what it looks like. It's a 373-page book, quite condensed, but I think it will be a very good read for the policymakers, for academics. It really intended to serve several purposes. At the event also, my children are launching a foundation in my name. I think they are learning from the fact that I have been very active, particularly since I left, but even before I left office, in several community projects. In Kano, for example, through a community project, I've been able to establish a microfinance bank to help people in terms of entrepreneurship and getting into the financial system. We're also running a hospital that today is probably second only to Aminu Kano, to Murtala Mohammed Hospital in Kano, in terms of the number of deliveries that are made per month. We are delivering between 250 to 300 babies a month in that facility, in addition to catering for particularly women and children and other requirements. So in line with that, they will establish this foundation in my name. And the focus of it will actually be education. First, trying to provide education to the underprivileged, but also a focus on AI. One of my children has got a first class as a master's in AI, and he's quite active. We're going to demonstrate, in fact, some of the things that the foundation will be doing, particularly in the AI space. Again, as part of the social, public social responsibility that they will be doing. So those are the two events for Thursday. Now, coming to your question, I thought you invited me to talk about my book today, but I think for my sins of being the chairman of MOFI, I have to answer your question. But seriously speaking, in MOFI, we decided, Ruben, you know, you are in government, that I was one of those who led the issue of accountability. Not only accountability, but results-based performance. If you recall, under President Jonathan, we started the performance-based management system where each minister signed a performance bond with the president, and they were giving results of their performance to the public. Now, based on that, I decided as chairman that we're not going to be making so much noise about this is what we are going to be doing, this is what we are doing, this. And we want to report, by the time we do so, we want to report concrete results. About 3 months ago, we had a conference where that was our first outing, where we gave an update about what we've been doing. For example, we are working very hard on the National Assets Register. First of all, identifying all those assets.
All right.
Some of them are corporate assets.
All right.
Some of them are physical assets.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Shamsuddeen Usman, we're so sorry, it's completely out of time. I don't know if you want to wrap up your thoughts so we can wrap up the interview in 30 seconds just to wrap up your thoughts. But thank you very much for joining us. Do you have 30 seconds?
Well, I think maybe I should mention the conclusion of the book.
Please go ahead.
So that people will be interested more in reading it. The way I concluded the book is that when I was in the private sector, I used to say that if only we can get the economy right, everything will be all right. Now, with my benefit of working in the public service, I say if we do not get the politics right, nothing will be all right.
All right. Thank you so very much, and congratulations on the launch of your book. Look forward to reading it, and I believe that it would be helpful even for moving forward and charting our course as a nation.